Welcome to the world of Temu, the shopping app that exploded onto our phones, promising we can all shop like a billionaire. It's a digital dollar store that appeared from thin air to challenge the undisputed king of e-commerce, Amazon. But have you ever truly stopped to ask, how? How is any of this possible? What's the real price of a $1 price tag? Today, we're not just comparing two apps. We're ripping back the curtain on a global empire, one built on a foundation far darker than you can imagine. This isn't just about cheap stuff. This is a story about your data, global power, and a hidden human cost you never see when you click buy. First, let's set the stage. In one corner, the reigning champion, Amazon. For decades, Amazon has been the go-to. Their empire wasn't just built on low prices, it was built on trust, and most importantly, speed. That sweet 2-day Prime shipping created an army of loyal customers who value convenience above all else. Amazon's system is a finely tuned machine of its own products, third-party sellers, and a logistics network that's second to none. Then, in 2022, a new challenger stormed the ring. Backed by the Chinese e-commerce titan PDD Holdings, Temu arrived with a completely different game plan. Forget 2-day shipping, forget brand names. Temu's entire strategy boiled down to one single word: price. Temu's model is simple: connect you directly with tens of thousands of manufacturers in China. Cut out every single middleman. No expensive US warehouses. None of the complex logistics Amazon depends on. The result? Prices that are just a fraction of what you'd find on Amazon. It's a classic loss leader strategy. Sell products for basically nothing, maybe even at a loss, just to snatch up millions of users and dominate the market. And it worked. Temu became one of the most downloaded apps on the planet, proving that for many, a rock-bottom price is worth the wait. But this is where the real story begins. Because to get prices that low, you have to be cutting corners. And where Temu cuts those corners reveals the dark truth of its new shopping empire. So, secret number one. How does Temu do it? By exploiting a US trade rule that's over a century old. It's called the de minimis provision. Now, this rule was originally just for tourists bringing back souvenirs. But here's the key. It says that most packages valued under $800 can enter the United States without import taxes and without inspection. So while a company like The Gap pays millions in import duties, Temu and its rival Shein have built their entire business model around this loophole. They ship millions of small individual packages directly to your door, and almost every single one slides right under that $800 limit. Get this. A US congressional report found that Temu and Shein are likely responsible for over 30% of all packages shipped to the US under this rule, every single day. They're dodging taxes, they're dodging inspections, and that gives them a massive unfair advantage. But it's not just about money. That lack of inspection opens the door to something far more disturbing: forced labor. The United States has an outright ban on imports from China's Xinjiang region. Why? Because of overwhelming evidence of forced labor, particularly involving the oppressed Uyghur minority. It's a horrific campaign of imprisonment and exploitation. So, when a US congressional committee investigated Temu, what they found was shocking. They stated, and I'm quoting here, "There is an extremely high risk that Temu's supply chains are contaminated with forced labor." The report exposed that Temu has no real system to check if it's following US law. In fact, Temu admitted to the committee that it does not expressly prohibit its 80,000 sellers from using suppliers in the Xinjiang region. Their only defense? They ask suppliers to agree to some generic text. By using that de minimis loophole, Temu essentially washes its hands of all responsibility, claiming it isn't the importer. You, the customer, are. This setup all but guarantees that products made with slave labor are flowing into American homes, paid for by people who simply thought they were getting a deal. The human cost is horrifying, but there's another price being paid, a much more personal one, and this time, it's your privacy. To put it bluntly, security experts have called the Temu app not a shopping platform, but a spyware program masquerading as an e-commerce site. Okay, I know what you're thinking. All apps collect data. True, but the US-China Economic and Security Review Commission has sounded the alarm about the sheer level of data collection by apps like Temu. When you install Temu, you could be granting it access to a terrifying amount of your personal life, your contacts, your messages, your calendar, your photos, even biometric data. We're talking about basically everything on your phone. There are already class action lawsuits claiming the app is, quote, purposefully and intentionally loaded with tools to execute virulent and dangerous malware and spyware activities. One cybersecurity firm warned the app has hidden functions that allow for extensive data exfiltration, which could give hackers full access to nearly all the data on your phone. And this isn't just paranoia. It gets so much worse when you look at Temu's parent company, PDD Holdings, and its other app, Pinduoduo. In 2023, Google literally kicked Pinduoduo out of its Play Store after finding malware hidden inside the app's code. Researchers discovered it was built to exploit security flaws in phones to steal data it had no right to access, and it was designed to be almost impossible to remove. And after that scandal broke, where do you think many of Pinduoduo's engineers reportedly went? They were transferred to the Temu team. Look, Amazon has to follow strict US privacy laws. Temu, its corporate structure is a tangled mess. It's owned by a holding company in the Cayman Islands with a headquarters in Dublin, Ireland. But its core development teams are still deeply tied to China, and that matters because Chinese national security law can force any company to hand over its data to the government for intelligence gathering. Security officials are deeply concerned that the data of millions of Americans could be funneled directly to Beijing. Temu might be selling you a cheap t-shirt, but it looks like the real product it's harvesting is you. So, this is the dark truth. The billion-dollar shopping empire of Temu isn't built on brilliant innovation. It's built on a ruthless strategy that combines two deeply disturbing realities: exploiting trade loopholes that almost certainly allow forced labor into the country, and running an aggressive data harvesting machine that treats your privacy as just another commodity to be sold. Let's be clear, Amazon is no angel. It's faced endless criticism for its own labor practices and for crushing small businesses. But this battle, this feels different. This feels like a new, more dangerous race to the bottom. One where ethics, security, and human rights are tossed aside for the sake of the lowest possible price. The app itself is designed to be addictive. Those flashy spinning wheels, the constant countdowns on lightning deals, they're all there to keep you scrolling, keep you buying, all while it quietly siphons up your data in the background. The company is deliberately losing money on every sale. It's a bet that it can starve everyone else out of the market and achieve a total monopoly. And once that happens, those cheap prices might just disappear. But you can be sure its access to your data won't. The explosive rise of Temu says something unsettling about all of us. That we're hooked on cheap and easy. That we're often willing to look the other way and not ask the hard questions about where our stuff comes from or where our data is going. This isn't about guilt. It's not wrong to want a good deal. This is a wake-up call to become a more conscious consumer. Every dollar you spend is a vote. A dollar spent on a platform that turns a blind eye to forced labor is a vote to keep that system running. Giving an app invasive permissions on your phone without a second thought is a vote for a future with less and less privacy. The real fight for the future of e-commerce isn't Temu versus Amazon. It's a fight for what we want our world to look like. Do we want transparency, ethical sourcing, respect for our personal data, or are we willing to trade it all away for a $3 smartwatch? The power in the end isn't with them, it's with us. Every single time we open an app, every time we click buy, we are making a choice. The dark truth is out there. The only question is, what are we going to do about it? If this investigation opened your eyes, subscribe for more deep dives into the technology and companies shaping our reality, and drop a comment below. What dark truth should we investigate next?